Síguese, vamos, venga. Múyese.
For years I've been hearing the same things about Silent Hill 2. It's one of the best horror games ever, and it shaped the genre into what it is now. So first I played the original Silent Hill, and after playing the first Silent Hill, I wasn't expecting much from the second one. With tank controls and general jank from 1999, it was rough. Check out my video on it here. When I heard they made the sequel, Silent Hill 2, a mere 2 years later, suffice it to say my expectations were low. Not all the way to the ground low, but still low nonetheless. Thankfully, my expectations were well surpassed. The world has been impacted by Silent Hill 2, with Pyramid Head being a staple of horror around the globe. Plus, he's pretty scary in Dead by Daylight. Silent Hill 2 started development in 1999 following the success of the original Silent Hill. Looks like gamers love the take controls, huh? Not me. Konami and Team Silent set off, working themselves to the bone on their new project. The team used multiple horror movies as inspiration for the game, such as the films of Alfred Hitchcock and David Lynch. One of the biggest film influences for the game's production was Jacob's Ladder, which I've not seen yet because I watch horror movies behind my fingers. Team Silent also researched other games for reference on how games use 3D environments. These games vary from Tomb Raider to 1992's Alone in the Dark. The director for this game was Masashi Tsuboyama, with Takayoshi Sato reprising his role as CGI director and character designer, thank the Lord. The development staff also included Masahiro Ito as art director. Major parts of the writing were done by Sato and Hiroyuki Okawu, and the tunes scored by Akira Yamaoka, not to mention all the other powerhouses that were on Team Silent. Your work is seen and appreciated. Silent Hill 2 strayed away from the plot of the cult stuff from the first game, which I was so happy to hear, because dear golly gee does cult stuff suck. I have the same problem with Outlast. It makes it less scary for me. It just isn't that deep. Oh wow! There was a cult behind everything all along? Ooh, super spooky. What a cop-out. Silent Hill 2 released many trials and demos to the public to get people both excited and scared. Konami and Team Silent also released a promo DVD which showcased the E3 and TGS trailers of Silent Hill 2. Speaking of E3, here's the E3 Silent Hill 2 statue. The game was released on September 25th, 2001 in North America, September 27th in Japan, and November 23rd in Europe. This release would be followed a year later with a new version with updated graphics and extra content. To make things extra confusing, each region got its own name for the deluxe version. Silent Hill 2 Greatest Hits in North America, Silent Hill 2 Saigo no Uta in Japan, and Silent Hill 2 Director's Cut in Europe. The version of Silent Hill 2 that I played was Greatest Hits, the North American version. I preferred this version the most, but if you want to play a more modern version of the game, there's the Silent Hill HD collection, released with both Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3 remastered. Though be wary, as it's a strange remaster. Konami actually lost the original source code, so they had to completely remake the game from scratch, and this led to multiple technical issues, the biggest one being the fog just isn't as good, not to mention some questionable font changes. Now, before we dive into the game itself, I have to first air a couple of warnings. Obviously, this is where I tell the viewers about how this video contains spoilers, and that if you do not wish to see them, you should click off the video. But this is also where I would like to stress that this video will contain depictions of depression, suicide, violence, sexual assault, body shaming, and murder. Your discretion is advised.
Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful.
You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait! How do you know Mary's name?
All you care about is that dead wife of yours. I've never been so scared in my whole life.
First thing you should do when you open up the game is go to the options menu, go to tank controls, and turn that shit off. That simple button click alone makes the game 10 times better than its predecessor. You get the option of choosing your level of difficulty for your action and for your riddles. I will dive more into this later, but action means level of difficulty for health and fighting monsters, and riddle level means puzzle difficulty. If you're smart and good at games, set both these to hard, easy peasy. But I am not smart, nor am I good at games, so have them on normal. No more setting changes and what have you. Let me introduce you guys to James Sunderland. James is currently looking really mysterious and downtrodden in the mirror, talking about how he came to Silent Hill to see his wife Mary. But once he steps outside, he gives a little more context.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. A dead person can't write a letter. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean?
James goes on about how Mary could be at the park by the lake because they spent a whole day there by themselves. You then grab the map in the car and it's off to Silent Hill. Around this time is where I notice how intense the fog is. I mean, you cannot see 2 feet in front of you. This is a hallmark of the Greatest Hits edition. This is where I got hooked on the story and started taking the game very seriously.
I miss my fucking wave. Where's my fucking wave? Where's my fucking wave? Have you seen my fucking wave?
I have not seen your wife. Leave me alone.
Okay, I was being a little bit goofy, but I was on the same wavelength of the game. After looking into a well and getting a save point jump scare, you come up on a graveyard with a person chilling in it.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
it's
just...
okay. I didn't mean to scare you.
This woman informs James that there is something wrong with the town and that he should probably not go. James refutes this by saying that no matter what, he's going into the town.
It's just... I guess I really don't care if it's dangerous or not. I'm going to town either way.
James then tells the woman that he's looking for someone. This is where the woman tells James that she's looking for her mother. After that follows some more walking in the forest with some great sounds and vibes. Oh yeah, this is a horror game. We then get to experience the tutorial of fighting monsters, which is very similar to fighting in the OG Silent Hill. Keep hitting them till they're on the floor, then give them a good ol' kick. This is also where James acquires a radio that sounds static whenever enemies are nearby. The radio also tries to give a message to James.
This thing broken? What the? I'd better take it anyway. I might need it.
Now we can really get to that true Silent Hill experience of running around a foggy town while being chased down by horrifying creatures. This is where you can easily get lost at the beginning of the game, but it can also be seen as viewing the full layout of the town, marking down chasms on your map and giant walls. One of these blockades is a locked door with some writing on the side that says, "The door that wakes in darkness, opening into nightmares." This of course means nothing right now and can be written off as some hooligan graffiti. What you're actually supposed to do is go down an alley, get jump scared, and find a key for the Woodside Apartments, because the only way to the park is through. The apartments is where the game really gets to stretch its legs. Before you acquire any items that are of any real note, players made to wander the dark halls of the apartment. In doing so, you encounter some more monsters and find some more health items and some garbage in the trash chute. After approximately 3 minutes of worrying in the dark, you find a flashlight on a mannequin. This is where you're introduced to another creature that resembles the legs of a mannequin. They also stay completely still and don't emit any radio static until you get right next to them. Yeah, really awesome. By this point, you probably tried to reach for a key through some bars and a little girl did some trolling.
Ow! Hey, wait!
Now, you have another objective. To get the key on the other side of the bars is made even easier once you find a pistol in a shopping cart in a room riddled with bullet holes. Now, I am a fan of subtlety, but I am also a huge fan of just putting the message in all of its glory right in your face. Pistol's also super good at dealing with enemies because, you know, it shoots bullets. I should also mention that just like Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2 makes great use of making sure the items that you can pick up are noticeable and distinguishable. I would even claim that the items in Silent Hill are just a tad bit better, simply because there's no beating that bright red color of the handgun ammo. That shit gives you soul and purpose. Let me be clear, it is just the tiniest bit better, because Silent Hill 2 kills it with the placement of items and their design. Enough of me rambling about some items. Let's get back to James and his apartment adventures. Making your way towards the screen reveals a horror character that I swear I haven't seen before. Somewhere. In this room, there's a dead guy watching TV and a grandfather clock that you can't get open yet. What follows is James going to one of the scariest rooms in the game purely because of the sound design, the sudden change in lighting, and the butterflies. Did I mention I am deathly afraid of those harmless insects? James then has to slowly put his hand through a disgusting looking hole in this tense, nightmarish room in which you get the key for the grandfather clock. Hooray! Solving the clock puzzle is easy, and if you have trouble with it, you are really cool and awesome. In the next room, there's another red flashbang. Also, this next room gives you access to the rest of the third floor. And down the hallway, there's this radio static emitting from a door, and once you open it, you see that monster once again. I feel like I shouldn't be watching this. This is Pyramid Head, and I believe that this is quite possibly one of the best designed horror monsters in a game. See, every other game does too much. They add too much shit to their horrifying amalgamations, to the point where you don't even know what to be scared about. With Pyramid Head, it's different, because it's all on his name. The pyramid on his head, which is daunting in its size, gives you the most primal urge to run for your life. I will dive into more about how scared I am of Pyramid Head when the time comes, but for now, James just shoots him. Pick up the key that was in the closet, and you finally pick up the key on the other side of the bars. Now, from this point, you can explore even more of the apartment, and this leads to you finding two very distinguishable coins. Around this time is where James comes across an apartment with a dead body. And somebody throwing up. This is Eddie, and he doesn't mention much right now, just that he didn't kill the guy in the apartment. This is also a great point to bring up something important.
I didn't do anything. I swear. He was like this when I got here.
My name's James. James Sunderland.
Eddie.
The voice acting in this game is substantially better than the voice acting in the first Silent Hill. I don't know why, but there are so many quotable lines in this game, unlike the first Silent Hill, which just had...
Sorry.
So this might be me praising either the writing or the deliveries by the amazing voice cast. Or it could just be me growing more and more delusional. I don't know. It all just hits differently.
Eddie, be careful.
James, you be careful too.
By now, James finally got around to finding that key on the other side of the bars and used it to get to the fire escape. Except it isn't a fire escape, and instead is a way to go to more apartments. In these apartments, for some awful reason, I decided to take a timestamp note of there being a cuck chair in this room. In this apartment too, you can find a safe and a code for it in the toilet. This code is randomly generated every game, so you can't get the answer for it directly through a game facts guide. Fact checked by me. In these apartments, you will also find the woman from the graveyard again. She tells James that her name is Angela, and James tries to convince her to put the knife away. James and Angela discuss how they came to Silent Hill and how they are both running away from their own problems. Angela leaves the knife in the room and walks away, right next to another coin. Now James has 3 coins and finds a note on an apartment door about how they've hidden the key. This leads you to a puzzle where you now have to follow a riddle and put the coins that you have found in the right indents. I would like to bring up the riddle difficulty now. The riddle difficulty is different from the action difficulty and doesn't make it harder to survive in the game. It instead gives you entirely different puzzles that are harder or easier depending on the level you choose. Different riddle difficulties also make it so that the solutions to the puzzles are different, making it so that replays can have the same amount of puzzle solving as your first playthrough. Once you solve the puzzle, you get the key to the apartment, and in the apartment, you get some handgun ammo and the apartment stairwell key. The apartment stairwell is a moment of clarity after the tense apartment section. Yeah, no, this part made me panic for a little bit. But after a little bit, you realize that you don't do any damage to Pyramid Head, and you just start to wait it out. This is when a siren will sound, and Pyramid Head will dive into the water in the stairwell. This will cause the flooded water to drain, and James can finally leave the apartments. It feels good to be back in the fog again, as if you were just lost in those tight hallways and you're just as relieved to be outside as James is. Then you see that little girl again.
You! It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
Huh? Are you blind or something?
What's that letter?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait! How do you know Mary's name?
Once again, I handled this imperative story update with class.
Wah, wah.
Fuck is Barry?
After this, James finally reaches Rosewater Park on his search for Mary, and he finds her. Kind of.
Mary? No, you're not.
Do I look like your girlfriend?
No, my late wife.
This is Maria, and she may look very similar to Mary, but she is not Mary. After some discussion, James decides to head to the Lakeview Hotel because that was another special spot for him and Mary. Maria decides to tag along for the adventure to the hotel, which I don't understand at the moment. Before the hotel though, James and Maria head west. There you find a steel pipe in a car, and James heads into the bowling alley. Maria waits outside though because she hates bowling. Inside, Eddie and the little girl are talking about Eddie's life and how he ended up in Silent Hill. Eddie also mentions if the little girl has found Mary yet. The plot thickens yet again. James tries to talk to the little girl, but she leaves. James tells Eddie that they should go after her, to which Eddie says otherwise.
Laura? But why?
Laura. Is that her name?
That's what she said.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
She said she was fine by herself. She said a fatso like me would just slow her down.
Forget you.
After that, James runs out to the entrance where Maria tells him that Laura went down the back alley. Maria then points out that Laura went through a crack in the wall and suggests going through a building, which is a strip joint that Maria conveniently has the keys for. The game also accompanies this building with some banging music. Now some praises to the GOAT Akira Yamaoka. Not only did he do the soundtrack for the first Silent Hill game, but also Silent Hill 2. Yamaoka also did the sound design for Silent Hill 2 and is just the best aspect of the game. The amount of work he put in for this game is staggering. For example, he recorded over 100 footsteps to make it so that you are never lured into the comfort of repetition, keeping you on your toes subconsciously. Yamaoka did the same for footsteps in the woods to glass shattering in the hospital, making it so that the random sounds that you can hear are truly random. Fuck off. The biggest reason for this was that Yamaoka wanted silence itself to be the huge component in making the player feel tense. Sometimes the only thing keeping the player from entire silence is the echo of James' footsteps. In my opinion, it is beautifully done and has some of the best sound design I have ever heard. It was executed so well that I didn't realize the effect it had on me until the game was over. At this point, Maria and James watch Laura go into the hospital, so they run in after her. Little do they know that there are nurses ready to attack. The hospital has plenty of notes around that give you hints to puzzles later in the building, and some patient records in the employee room. I would say that this area is a great place to start using the pistol because there will be multiple points where you will be pinned down against multiple nurses. Speaking of guns, this is where you obtain the shotgun, and you find it in an employee locker. Surely this isn't another piece of commentary on American culture, right? James takes the shotgun and takes a curved rusty nail from a teddy bear nearby. You eventually reach the patient rooms where Maria begins to feel ill and has to lie down for a little while. After that, James heads to the roof where he finds a disturbing diary about a suicidal patient in the hospital who was let go. Only the player's imagination as to why a diary of this nature would be left on the roof of the hospital the patient was staying in. Then you get jump scared by Pyramid Head and knocks you down the roof of the 3rd floor. Here you can find another code for a puzzle I'm about to mention. But fun fact, it is another randomized code. We love to see it. By now you should have all the codes and keys to open this comical lockbox with a total of 4 locks. The difficulty of the puzzle changes with the riddle difficulty, of course. What is the golden prize you give for all this puzzle solving? 3 strands of hair. This stuff's important, don't laugh it off. Combining the hair with the nail from before allows you to get the elevator key from the shower drain. In the elevator, the only button you can press is the 1st floor, which is where you'll find Laura, finally.
Laura?
Huh? You know my name?
Eddie told me.
That big
How do you know about Mary?
Laura tells James that she was friends with Mary and how they met in the hospital. James then makes the genius decision to escort Laura out of the hospital, but Laura, being the biggest asshole ever, locks James in a room with 3 hovering masses of meat trapped in metal frames. Pro gamer tip, use the shotgun. Finishing the fight, you hear a familiar siren. In Silent Hill fashion, the entire hospital turns into a nightmare version of itself. Laura is nowhere to be found, and Maria has disappeared too. The entire hospital is filled with more enemies, and the ambience is more tense than before. Heading to the basement, James meets up with Maria again, and she's just so understanding of the entire situation.
It's you. I thought you were... Sorry. Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway? You don't sound very happy to see me. I was almost killed back there. Why didn't you try to save me? All you care about is that dead wife of yours. I've never been so scared in my whole life. You couldn't care less about me, could you?
Yeah.
What the hell, man? Now James and Maria are back on the hunt for Laura. Maria is even back to her usual self, making snide remarks at James.
You can't open it?
Yeah. Maria, give me a hand here.
Come on. You're supposed to be the big man around here.
And now you have to find 2 rings to put on this very scary door. On the way to put the rings on the door, you will hear this radio host give you a questionnaire. If you answer the questions correctly, you get a ton of ammo and health items. If not, you get very, very, very hurt. This questionnaire is also optional, so if you really don't need all those items, you can skip the elevator ride. When you open the door with the woman, there's a staircase heading down with a horribly written note about someone stealing a key to a museum. Sorry, a museum. I feel as though this section is better described through my gameplay than with my commentary. Marie is dead, and you are left alone in the hospital, the only sound being James' footsteps and the soundtrack. You can only open one door from here, which is a room that has a map leading James to the Silent Hill Historical Society, and a key to leave the hospital. After looking at the map, you can see Laura in the dark outside. Now, if you hated Silent Hill Foggy, you are gonna absolutely despise Silent Hill at night. First, you gotta head to Saul Street, which you then have to go through the scariest hallway with mesh flooring, mostly because there are monsters hanging below the floor and they're nightmarish. On the other side of the street, you can investigate a motor home. When you do, there is a save point and a note saying that there's someone waiting at the bar, Nellie's, or Neely's. This is another optional thing you can do, but in the bar is some very hateful graffiti. One reads, "If you really want to see Mary, you should just die. But you might be heading to a different place than Mary, James." The other graffiti in the room reads, "There was a hole here. It's gone now." The second graffiti I don't really understand. I just think that the city took care of some major league pothole problems. Now James goes ahead and finds a wrench and a note saying that the key stolen in the hospital is buried in Rosewater Park. The note also reads, "If you still do not wish to stop, James, I pray to the Lord to have mercy on your eternal soul." The sudden reason as to why there are so many writings to James is disturbing in some way. No time to think about it though. It's time to head to Rosewater Park. No need to go through the apartments again. Remember that door with the graffiti? Well, it opens now because it is now in darkness. James digs up the key and makes his way to the... I would like to preface that the rest of the game from this point forward is peak. The game has been good so far, but now it's in a realm of its own. Entering the Historical Society, it appears to be as empty as all the other buildings. There's a pyramid head painting, which James does not seem to enjoy. I think it goes hard. In the next room, there's a hole in a wall with a staircase which seems to go on forever. At the bottom of the staircase, there's a prisoner manifest from 1820. Exploring more, James finds a hole, and the only option with it is to jump down. At the bottom of the hole is nothing. James jumped into a well. If you keep going around and inspecting each wall, eventually you will come across a wall that is weaker than the rest. When you break it, you unlock a whole new area to explore. In this new area, there are a couple of those gas spraying enemies and some doors. One of them gives you the key to progress, but once you pick it up, your flashlight goes out. The only way to fix it is to change the battery. And then the game decides to make the guy terrified of insects shit his pants by putting a shit ton of bugs in the room. The only way out is to crack the code on the keypad, which the only way to do that is by looking at the numbers used on the keypad and using those numbers in different orders until you crack the code. With this new key, you can open up another hole for James to jump down. Now you get to see more of the prison from before and a familiar face.
Killing a person ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head. Pow. You killed him? But it wasn't my fault. He made me do it.
Eddie talks about how he was justified in killing this guy before falling back to the statement he said when we first met him.
I was just joking, James. He was dead when I got here. Honest.
Once Eddie leaves, you can explore the prison, which just has some of the scariest sound design ever. All very tense and scary, but the only thing to do here is just grab the hunting rifle for your arsenal and open another hole to go down. And after that hole, there is another hole. James is now at like the center of the earth right now.
No, not just yet.
What the fuck? After this hole, you walk into an elevator with a bunch of items lying about before the elevator closes on its own and starts to go down. Once it stops, James is now in a hallway that doesn't show what is behind the doors, only now marking doors with a blue coloring, and once you cross that threshold, you're nowhere near where you just were. One notable area is the circular hallway where those mesh floor monsters and Pyramid Head are wandering. If you can get past them, there's a room on the other side with a sword similar to the one that Pyramid Head had at the beginning of the game. It does a ton of damage, but you move slower than a snail when holding it. Going another way leads you to a rotating room puzzle, where you move a box in the middle of the room and it changes the orientation of the room ahead. This puzzle is also different per riddle difficulty, but once you get past it, you meet another familiar face.
You're alive! Maria, I thought that thing killed you. Are you hurt bad?
Not at all, silly. James, honey, did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Maria seems to not remember what happened in that hallway, but she remembers something about making a videotape with James in the hotel, something only Mary would have known about. This confuses James and me because I thought she died a while ago, and now she's here, behind bars. This gives you a new objective of getting to Maria by going a different route to the other side of the bars. James goes through the last door in the hallway by cutting through the wires with his newly acquired wire cutter. This is where the area truly becomes a labyrinth, becoming a directionless maze with no real route, besides the one you make up in your head. Kinda like the hit book House of Leaves. I would highly recommend. I would also like to recommend this YouTube channel. Very nice gent. But yeah, the book is good, and I feel as though the book inspired this section a little bit, especially the color coding of the doors with the color coding of the word house. That's my theory, at least. And not a game theory, that's just an insane theory. In the maze, you can encounter Pyramid Head and a multitude of enemies. Eventually though, you should reach a save point and a door. Walking through the door, you'll hear somebody's pleas for help.
Daddy, please don't!
Leading James to go to the room the sound is coming from. This creature is pretty easy to beat, just either swing that big ass sword from earlier or just pump it full of lead. Once you're done, Angela will beat the corpse of the creature and claim that it was her father. Angela also comes off as aggressive towards James, but that seems to be because of her relationship that she had with her father, in which she states that her father sexually assaulted her and abused her. This explains why Angela makes the assumption of James's relationship with Mary. You can't blame her, because her very role model treated her in such a horrible manner.
That's ridiculous. I never...
Leaving the room, there's a puzzle in which you have to find the innocent man among a bunch of bodies. Guessing correctly, and a bunch of enemies will spawn. You have to read a list of crimes on the board by the nooses, and then look at what crimes the bodies were hanged for. Very cool puzzle. After that, you unlock the door and find that Maria has died again. Once again, this can be seen as James's fault. Going back the way you came, you'll find a graveyard with empty graves for Eddie, Angela, and James. Going into James's grave is a hallway that the deeper you go into it, the bloodier it gets. Once you reach the door, you uncover a gruesome scene.
Eddie? What are you doing? What does it look like?
He always busted my balls. You fat, disgusting piece of shit. You make me sick. Fat ass, you're nothing but a waste of skin. You're so ugly, even your mama don't love you. Well, maybe he was right. Maybe I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead.
Eddie explains how the people around him all called him fat, disgusting, and ugly, and once James starts to try to calm down Eddie, Eddie shoots James in the shoulder, starting the fight. After you deal enough damage, Eddie will turn and run to an adjacent freezer and explain more of his story.
Do you know what it does to you, James? When you're hated, picked on, spit on, just because of the way you look?
Eddie explains how he was bullied for all of his life and how he had just kept putting up with it, and then one day he snapped, killed his bully's dog, and shot him in the knee too. Eddie finds justification in his actions because he believes that it's retribution for what people have done to him. Eddie finds no guilt in his actions and chooses to believe that he can kill whoever looks at him the wrong way. I believe the character of Eddie is handled decently. If it weren't for the scene of him eating pizza instead of finding Laura, yeah, not really in good taste. Besides that, it's easy to call Eddie the most despicable in the cast of characters so far, but I believe that the character of Eddie is well done in the way that it showcases bullying and the repercussions that it has on one's psyche. Eddie is wrong for what he has done, but that doesn't make his bullies innocent either. However, this all comes to an end once James kills Eddie.
Eddie? Eddie? I killed a human being. A human being. Mary. Did you really die 3 years ago?
After those remarks and actions, if you inspect Mary's letter, you know, the piece of paper that told James to come to Silent Hill, you will find that the paper is now blank. Not a letter from Mary, just a blank piece of paper. Very interesting. Time to boat across the lake to the hotel. Yeah, baby! I totally was not just going around the lake and going to the actual hotel. Once you make it to the dock, the only thing left is to walk through the front doors of the... Now I'm going to be glossing over the puzzles from here because I want to talk about some more story-heavy elements. The main puzzle of this area of the game is getting all these music boxes so that you can get the key for the room that James and Mary stayed in. On your searches for the music boxes, you'll come across the videotape that James and Mary recorded, and Laura. Her and James will talk about their search for Mary and how Laura and Mary stayed in the same hospital. Laura will then give James the letter that Mary gave her. It dives into Mary dying from her sickness and how much Mary loves Laura and James. This letter makes James reconsider if Mary is dead to begin with. After this, Laura runs off, leaving James to find the other music boxes. This consists of doing some more randomized puzzles and wandering around dark halls without a flashlight. Eventually, you get all the music boxes, assort them to make the right tune, then finally get the key to the 3rd floor, where James's room is. In James's hotel room, there's a TV set and a videotape player. If you can put 2 and 2 together, then you know what you have to do.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Please promise you'll take me again, James.
Sorry, this is the wrong video. After such a shocking revelation as that, I'm surprised that Yamaoka has yet another banger up his sleeves. So yeah, it is revealed that James killed his wife instead of her dying from her illness. Really makes you view James in an entirely different light, even if you have been playing as him for the entire game. To make matters even more depressing, Laura shows up to tell James that they should leave. James responds by telling Laura the full truth about how he killed Mary, and Laura responds how I would.
You killer! Why'd you do it? I hate you! I want her back! Give her back to me! I knew it! You didn't care about her! I hate you, James! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!
This at least shows that James regrets what he has done and is handling it in a better way than Eddie. Then James hears Mary over the radio again, calling for James. The first and last objective of the game finally come together: find Mary. The game then transforms the hotel into this flooded version of itself. Another optional thing that you can do is listen to this cassette that dives deeper into James during Mary's sickness.
Mary's going to die? You must be joking.
I'm very sorry.
But you're a doctor. It's your job to heal people. How can you just let her die?
Please, calm down. As her doctor, I promise I'll do what I can. But there's still no effective treatment for her condition.
How long does she have?
I'm afraid I'm not sure. 3 years at most. Perhaps 6 months. It's impossible to say with certainty.
This at least shows James cared about Mary while she was sick and didn't despise her fully. All the puzzle pieces are finally coming together. The only thing to do now is to continue playing. Taking the elevator, the only way that James can go is down. This makes the hotel even more flooded and water damaged, until you go through one door where the world around James is suddenly on fire.
I was looking for you. Now you're the only one left. Maybe then I can rest. Mama, why are you running away? You're not my mama.
This cutscene reveals that Angela not only didn't find her mother, but that her mother said that she deserved all the abuse that she received. Remembering this, Angela ridicules James for saving her earlier in the game, saying that James could never heal any of her pain. Angela also wants James to give her back the knife he took from her, and when he declines, she suggests that James is gonna off himself with it.
Me? No. I'd never kill myself.
Angela is an extremely complex character, just like the rest of the characters in the game. Angela received abuse from both her father and her brother, and finally one day she killed the two of them, hence the portraits of two skinned bodies on the walls. This also ties back to the room where James fights Angela's father, in which the room can be seen with pistons on each wall. This can be interpreted in a multitude of ways, but I interpret it as Angela having no comfort even in her own childhood. By this point in the story, Angela has remembered everything that has happened in her life. Instead of knowing that she was the victim of sexual assault, she instead blames herself because her mother said she deserved all of it.
It's hot as hell in here.
You see it too. For me, it's always like this.
That's the last we see Angela in the game. Presumably, she killed herself by walking into the flames of her own hell. This obviously would have a terrible effect on James, who just had a terrible recollection that he killed his very ill wife. Well, everyone with their problems has met the end of their story. It's time for James to reach the end of the game. Continuing through the hotel, we see more water damage and the hotel getting overall more and more nightmarish, resembling more of a rusted sinking ship than that of James and Mary's happy place. After saving for the last time at 9 save points, not spaced out by the way, just all right next to each other to show how important the last save is. This is also the game's cover art in Japan. After that, James watches as 2 Pyramid Heads stab Maria.
I was weak. That's why I needed you. Needed someone to punish me for my sins. But that's all over now. I know the truth. Now it's time to end this.
Oh, fuck yeah. James now fights 2 Pyramid Heads to show that he is done being punished by his own demons. It seemed as though James lost the last bit of his soul by watching the videotape and seeing Angela again, but now he has more life than ever. After beating the Pyramid Heads, they put their heads through their own spears, and James can now leave the area to confront Maria.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I brought you some flowers.
Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already.
Mary, what are you saying?
Look, I'm disgusting. I don't deserve flowers. Between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster. Well, what are you looking at? Get the hell out of here. Leave me alone already. I'm no use to anyone. I'll be dead soon anyway. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It'd be easier if they'd just kill me. But I guess the hospital is making a nice profit off me. They want to keep me alive. Are you still here? I told you to go. Are you deaf? Don't come back. James, wait. Please don't go. Stay with me. Don't leave me alone. I didn't mean what I said. Please, James. Tell me I'll be okay. Tell me I'm not going to die. Help me.
Listening to that conversation is optional, but you can't understand the full story without it. At the end of the hallway is a stairwell, and at the end of the stairwell is Mary. No, sorry, Maria, who has some choice words for James.
When will you ever stop making that mistake? Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? It's you. But I don't need you anymore.
What? You must be joking. But I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted. I'm different than Mary. How can you throw me away?
I understand now. It's time to end this nightmare.
No! I won't let you. You deserve to die too, James.
Final boss of the game, and it's the version of Mary that James desired. A version of Mary who wasn't sick and showed a little bit of skin. This would explain so many enemies throughout the game, the dying cough of the lying figure. That's their actual name, by the way. About time I mentioned that. The sexualized versions of mannequins and nurses, the boss in the hospital representing how James viewed his own wife in a deathbed. Very harrowing stuff, especially now that James is beating the ever-loving shit out of those thoughts of his wife.
Mary?
James.
Forgive me.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey.
I just couldn't watch you suffer. No. That's not true. You also said you didn't want to die. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
James, if that were true, then why do you look so sad?
Mary?
James. Please. Please do something for me. Go on with your life.
That's it. That's the end of the game. James walks out of Silent Hill with Laura while we get a voiceover of the letter that Mary wrote to James in the hospital. It's a really good ending, all things considered, but it's not the only ending. To get these endings, that would involve replaying the game, and you get access to the chainsaw, which can just destroy enemies. After 3 playthroughs on the same memory card, you can get access to the fart spray, which is also very, very good. But yeah, let's dive into the different endings, which is kind of like diving into the character of... The first ending that I would assume most people got is the Leave ending, which entails James confronting his trauma and leaving Silent Hill, presumably to raise Laura. Big Dia, how do you get the other endings of Silent Hill 2? Well, it's all psychological. It's how you play the game from the beginning. The best example of this is the Maria ending, which consists of James not listening to the cassette tape, not listening to the Mary conversation in the hallway, checking on Maria in the hospital when she lies down, trying to reopen the door when Maria died in the labyrinth, and making sure not to bump into Maria all that much. This will result in James fighting Mary instead at the end of the game, choosing instead to live in ignorance of his trauma rather than accept it. James will then leave Silent Hill with Maria and will say the best line in the game.
You'd better do something about that cough.
Showing that James is most likely going to commit the same sins again, all because he put all the blame of Mary's death on Mary herself. Another ending is the In Water ending. This ending is also the most depressing ending, and is claimed to be thought as canon by the voice actor of James and Masahiro Ito. What you have to do for this ending is so fucked up. You have to have your health really low for most of the game, read the suicide note on top of the hospital, inspect the knife that Angela had, listen to the Mary convo in the hall, listen to the cassette tape, then you'll get the In Water ending, where James takes Mary's corpse and drives both of them into the lake.
Now I understand the real reason I came to this town. I wonder, what was I afraid of? Without you, Mary, I've got nothing. Now we can be together.
Fun fact during these depressing times, it is confirmed by Masahiro Ito that Mary's corpse was in the back of James' car since the beginning of the game. This ending results in James drowning with the corpse of Mary. This ending is the saddest of the bunch, not only because James kills himself because he can't imagine a world without Mary, but because you have to play self-destructive in order to even get this ending. To put it in better terms, you have to play suicidal to get this ending. This would be where I usually stop talking about the game and go on about my thoughts, but there are 3 more endings, and all are only available with New Game Plus. The first being the Rebirth ending, which sees James collecting an assortment of items to then try and revive Mary.
Mary, you look so peaceful. Forgive me for waking you. But without you, I just can't go on. I can't live without you, Mary. This town Silent Hill. The old gods haven't left this place.
You can assume this works, but I don't think it does. The credit song for the Rebirth ending is also just the best song in the game. The second ending is the UFO ending. This sees James using the blue gem around the map and then, well, I'll just let the cutscene play. This would be the funniest ending if it weren't for the third and final ending, the dog ending, in which you have to get Leave, Maria, and the In Water endings so that you can pick up a dog key in another playthrough. This gives you access to the observation room, and the ending is triggered. And yes, that was Japanese from the English voice actor. This ending shows that everything was controlled by this corgi, and it also gives us some pretty good credits. Also gives us this fucking amazing picture of James looking fucking ripped, dude. One last thing before the conclusion. In the Greatest Hits edition, there's a new game mode added where you can play as Maria trying to help out a ghost. She even gets her own save screen. It's just as scary as the rest of the game because Maria doesn't get a flashlight, and because I think ghosts are very scary.
To my daddy.
The story ends with Maria considering suicide and instead choosing to wander the streets of Silent Hill in search for somebody by the name of James.
Mary? No, you're not.
Do I look like your girlfriend? My name is Maria.
Now, many people can assume what the right or correct ending is for Silent Hill 2, and let me just start by saying that I think all the endings are the correct ending for Silent Hill 2. In Water is supported by multiple design choices and the multiple flooded rooms throughout the game. The Maria ending is supported by James wanting to get to Maria in the labyrinth, and Maria added content. Rebirth is only accessible during New Game Plus, and the old gods mentioned in Rebirth are mentioned in some notes. The UFO ending ties back to the similar ending in Silent Hill. And the dog ending makes sense because of the mistreatment of Eddie and why Maria keeps coming back in the game. For me, personally, I believe that the correct ending for James is the Leave ending. It sees James going to Silent Hill trying to find a reason to live. James meets multiple people throughout his journey, people who succumb to ignorance of their crimes, and people who blame themselves too much for being a victim. He sees into their minds, the way they think, and the way they view themselves. James also meets Laura, a girl that Mary loved, and a girl that loved Mary. James, for most of the game, is looking for this girl almost as much as he is looking for Mary. We also can put together that James knows that he killed Mary because of the radio message at the beginning of the game. Undistorted, of course.
This thing broken?
James, I'm here. Come to me. James, I'm waiting for you. Why did you kill me? James.
What the?
We see James fight his own thoughts, we see him kill the reflection of himself, and kill the perfect version of his wife. After that, James walks out of Silent Hill with Laura in tow, supposedly to continue the dream that Mary had of adopting her. Instead of following the path of ignorance or suicide, James carves his own path, of accepting the sins he's committed and being a better person because of them. It definitely is the happiest ending of the bunch, and your correct ending can be entirely different. For me, the greatest thing this game does is having you thinking internally about yourself, wondering why you did certain things during the game and questioning why you do certain things to begin with. This game is great at getting in your head and staying in there. The story, music, characters, and ambiance is top notch. I thought I was going to be disappointed when I first dived into the game. Now with multiple playthroughs, videos watched, and soundtrack listens, I can confirm that the game is very good. Top 5 games I have played. I'll leave you with this. Team Silent put all the love they could give this game, and it shows. The dog ending alone should show you that they were having a blast while making it. So all I gotta say is, I get it now. To all the Silent Hill fans, I get it now. Thanks for watching.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I love reading all your guys' comments, seriously. And yeah, have a good one. Bye-bye.